Welcome to Chronic Combat Conversations, a live look at our best bets, picks, and predictions for every UFC event. With your hosts, TB Scouting MMA and
The Guru back again for UFC Vegas 51. Vicente Luque versus Bilal Muhammad 2. Also known as UFC on ESPN 34. Looking to bounce back, man. This is a really exciting card, but from my opinion, a very tough one from a betting perspective. So we brought in one of MMA Twitter's finest. You can find him way up on the rankings in Bet MMA. One of those tips things that we always tell people to go check out. Make sure you check it out. YouTube, MMA Kelton, Twitter, at MMA Kelton. Kelton, what is up, brother?
What is up, man? I'm pumped to be here. I'm pumped to talk fights with you guys. Crazy. It's been about a year since I've done my last podcast. I took a little break, and that was mostly just to kind of refresh myself. This game of betting is so tough. I mean, last week that was a real doozy, and I feel like taking that refresh, it really gave me new life in this game. I feel like I've been doing pretty good, and then you asked me to come on the podcast. I'm like, hell yeah, it's my time to come back and researching this card. It was fun, and now I'm excited to talk these fights with you, man.
Yeah, last week was certainly humbling to say the least, but still not as humbling as having you on the podcast, man. So seriously, thanks so much for giving us your time and coming on, and thanks for popping that 2022 cherry with us. We're really happy to have you on.
Of course.
TB, what do you think of this card, man? Well, this is an interesting one, no?
yeah, I mean, listen, this is one of those ones where we're finally seeing some action in the upper ranks of the welterweight division. So to keep that momentum going off of the Burns and Chimaev fight right into Luque versus Muhammad, I think we're starting to see who the next competitors might be for that title. So it's nice, kind of like the little mini Grand Prix come together here, over these weeks. And yeah, man, I'm just super excited that we keep the train rolling here. There's not a lot of time to lick our wounds or anything like that, because honestly it's time to get back into it. Listen,
no time
it might
to
have been a down week, but
yeah,
we're right back. And make sure you're subscribed to MMA Kelton. Make sure you're following him on Twitter. Make sure you give us a like on this video. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel, because no matter what, we're bringing the conversation, and I think it's ready to get this one started about
and
Luque versus
Kelton's channel.
Muhammad, right?
Yeah. This one's really, really exciting, man. This card, I mean, it's one of those. It's a rematch that you didn't really know that you needed again. It's like, you know what, we could see this again. That first fight happened. What was it, 6 years ago already? I mean, Vicente Luque sparked him really quick. We've never seen Bilal Muhammad spark since like that, right? I mean, that was like his first knockout loss, and he hasn't lost like that since. So I don't want to say it was a fluke. Vicente Luque is a fucking savage, as I'm sure we're gonna get into as sure as TB pulls up the stats. But Vicente is really it's his nickname is so apropos, the silent assassin. He is quietly climbing these ranks, man. Has beaten some of the best guys in the division. Has shown just that how not to be a boring fighter at all. We had big money on Michael Chiesa over him. And, that almost looked good for a quarter of a second there until it really didn't, where, Chiesa decided to go for submission over position, a very kind of a rookie mistake. But he's also Chiesa's shown to make those mistakes. So Vicente Luque, man, could really capitalize here with his explosiveness. I feel that, Bilal Muhammad, right, somebody that uses so much of his aggressiveness and his activity and being such a powerhouse, his work rate, right? Well, that's going to be kind of difficult to implement, especially with the takedowns when somebody is constantly driving you backwards, right? You see that where you drive a wrestler, you drive their takedowns, you close that gap, and it makes it more difficult for them, and it's kind of more of a telegraph, right? They kind of have to force those shots because they don't have the openings, they don't have that pressure. And if we know anything about Vicente, is that he keeps coming and coming. And while we haven't seen Vicente in a 5-round fight, again, his cardio has never been an issue through 3, and neither has his output. Is that fair to say, TB?
Yeah, listen, man. Right now, you have Vicente Luque at -170 and Bilal Muhammad at +150. The line's been shrinking as the week goes on, where I thought we might have seen some action moving the other way based on a lot of the confidence out there, it seems, in Vicente Luque. And I do remain a bit confident on that side. You got Luque coming out of Sanford MMA. I mean, he's training with a lot of the great grapplers and wrestlers they have out there. And, you see it maybe not so much in the initial takedown defense, but he is always going to fight to get back to his feet. I would say one thing I'm a little concerned about. You see, Bilal Muhammad has 25% control rate in all of his fights. We are in the small octagon, and Luque has given up about 18% control over time. So it's not like he hasn't been able to get like takedown or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, geez, this one's just like super exciting, and I do think that we are going to see this play out a lot further than the initial one went. So Vicente Luque at -170, there might be some interesting things to tie into that. But Kelton, where are you sitting on this fight?
Man, so if y'all have been watching me for a while, I have always been a huge fan of Bilal Muhammad. I think when it comes to things like hard work, fight IQ, cardio, like Bilal Muhammad has all of it. Super well rounded. He's got good boxing. He's got great pressure. He's got good wrestling. He's got good grappling. Like Bilal Muhammad has almost everything you want in a fighter. My only gripe on him, I wish he was a little more athletic. He's not the fastest guy in the world. He's not super explosive. I think that showed in that fight against Leon Edwards, where Leon's hand speed in his boxing, it was just a notch above. And I don't want to say Bilal Muhammad is hitting a ceiling here at the top 5, but at this point, it's going to be hard for him to win fights. However, I do think he can win this fight against Vicente Luque. I think Vicente Luque, he deserves that favorite price tag next to his name. Like the dude, I mean, talking about well-roundedness, that's a well-rounded guy right there in Vicente Luque, super sharp. Of course, I don't even got to talk about that left hook, the power, and that Darce choke, man. I mean, Vicente Luque truly is one of the most dangerous men in the UFC, but I don't want to be the guy to say Vicente Luque kind of has an overrated resume. So I'm not going to say that. I'll just tell you a little
just
about
hint at it.
yeah, I'll just tell you a little about his resume. Like
Sure.
in recent years, like we're talking 2 wins over Nico Price. All right.
Right.
Brian Barberina, which guys, that was a war in which like he could have easily lost that fight had he not got the finish very late. Mike Perry, another fight where it was a war. He easily could have lost that fight. Derek Krantz, who I don't even think is in the company anymore, got dominated by Stephen Thompson. Nico Price again. Randy Brown, who I like, but I mean, we're not talking like a elite talent there. Tyron Woodley, who was in the I believe the 40s stages of his career at that point. And Tyron Woodley fight. Yeah, and Tyron Woodley had moments in that fight. And then Michael Chiesa, Michael Chiesa is a great win, don't get me wrong, but again, there was flaws shown by Vicente Luque there. It wasn't really about what he did right. Like you alluded to it, Michael Chiesa made a mistake there. He went submission over position. I thought he could have easily rode out the rest of the round. Who knows how the rest of the fight would have gone, but I don't know, man. I feel like my boy Bilal, if he doesn't get knocked out, which listen, that's a complete possibility. It's happened once, which I don't think I gotta say though. Like that fight that happened 6 years ago, we can't really look at that as an indicator of what's gonna happen here. And funny enough, we actually have a rematch earlier on in the card where their first fight was even longer than the 6-year difference between this rematch. We'll talk about that one later. It's so crazy, but yeah, so I'm with you guys. I think the line is going to go towards Luque's way. And like, if fight day comes and Bilal Muhammad's got like a plus 175 next to him, I'm going to be very tempted to take that shot. I've bet the guy so many times before. Why stop now? The problem is, though, just don't get knocked out.
Well, so what about this? And this was one of the big concerns that I saw. And you're totally right about, and I feel almost stupid saying he's fought some of the best guys in the division. You're like, well, actually, it's overrated. And I'm like, well, actually, you're 100% right. So it's just like, what about the Bilal Muhammad Jeff Neal fight? So like, what I took away from that fight was that Jeff Neal was not nearly as good a grappler or wrestler. It's just that he was physical and like a better athlete, kind of like what you alluded to, and like the more powerful striker. And that was just enough to pour it on Bilal, basically. I kind of felt that maybe Vicente could do something similar. Is that like a rookie way to look at that?
You know, it's funny you mentioned that because that fight is the only time I've ever bet against Bilal Muhammad. And I'm sure you remember when Jeff Neal took that fight, that was like the rise of Jeff Neal. Like,
Yes.
I think he was coming off like a huge head kick win. Like,
Yeah.
dude had a lot of hype. And I'm like, yo, I'm running this Jeff Neal train. And he got it done. And I completely agree with you. But the big difference between that fight and this fight is the 5-round advantage. Now, I'm in no way going to say that Luque has bad cardio, but I will say Bilal probably has better cardio. Like Bilal has elite cardio. So like if we get to those later stages, I'm not saying Vicente is going to be gassed, but I'm saying that pressure that Bilal had put on him in the previous rounds, it's probably going to have worn on him at that point. So if we don't see an early knockout from Luque, I think we're going to see a very competitive fight.
Yeah. And to that point, that's where you kind of want to be holding that plus money ticket, because the way I handicap this fight, and maybe I'm trying to learn my lessons from last week, previous lessons that I've learned already. I think the prop that I like on this fight is the fight to start round 3 at -225 on FanDuel, and kind of figure out where that parlay. I mean, because I guess maybe not as I get the I saw your look, Kelton, because because Vicente's going to be so live early, I guess, is your thought.
Yeah.
So, and it's weird for me to be on Vicente and think the fight's going to start round 3. So I guess I'm kind of all over here.
If Vicente wins this fight, my guess would be knockout in under 1.5 rounds.
Wow. Wow.
That's his best win condition, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's hard to argue that. It's how he's done best.
I will say we've seen Bilal Muhammad knocked down 6 times so far in the UFC, and he only has that one knockout loss on his resume, but there does seem to be at least some consistency to when someone can really land on him, whether it's Lyman Good kind of tracking him down late in the fight. I know he wins that fight, but it got a little sketchy there in round 3. And I do think that Bilal Muhammad, he is that well-rounded all-around fighter, and I'm hesitating to like pull the trigger on Luque here because I just get that feeling, but he might end up being a little bit of a straight play. I just don't see it as like a play of the day or anything like that.
Do we talk anything about the Leon Edwards Bilal fight? Because like for as long as that went, I felt like Leon was not only kind of doing his thing in the striking, but controlling him in the grappling as well. But maybe that's just Leon being Leon.
I actually thought that Bilal looked pretty strong in the clinch exchanges in that fight. I was surprised when Leon kind of initiated stuff and Bilal was turning him around. So that's kind of where like Luque, Tyron Woodley just bum rushes him in the beginning of their fight and gets him in a clinch situation. Now Luque turns him out and everything. So I do see, where Bilal could control him. But I think we broke this one down well, and it's time to get on to a fight that has a lot less UFC history behind it. It's kind of crazy. We got this matchup here, and both guys are making their UFC debut. We got Caio Bahalio coming in versus Omar Gagiev. So, Guru,
my Gagiev. Lions and Tigers and Omar Gagiev. No, this is a really interesting one. I don't remember I don't know if they've ever done a double Dana White Contender Series debut co-main event, but this is it. And it's a super interesting one. Caio, who got I thought was an unbelievably impressive win versus Aaron Jeffries, the CFFC middleweight champion. And he didn't get the contract. And I made sure to rewatch it, and I made sure to go back and rewatch the end interview with Laura Sanko, and Laura Sanko asked why, and she's just like, just not really feeling it. Next time, kid. It's like the most random answer. It made no sense, but he gives him another shot 3 weeks later, up a weight class, and the dude doesn't go to decision. He makes a quick work of the guy, gets himself a contract, and gets himself this shot here versus a fellow Dana White Contender Series guy in Omar Gagiev, who's seems to be an interestingly well-rounded fighter. Switch stances, very wrestling dominant, good top control, right? Likes to grapple. Trains at MMA Factory with Fernando Lopez. I feel like that's kind of where it ends, though. It's kind of interesting to know. I don't really know too much about him. His his record seems a little sketchy to me. One thing that really stood out, he's got like a win. The guy was 18-7. Okay, great, but it was like 1 minute in, and he like refused to keep fighting. I read like something not good there. I don't know. Seems kind of sketchy, and he's got the favorite tag, and I don't really know why, because I know, like, I may not know a lot of things, but I do know that this Aaron Jeffrey commodity is something, and I know that Kaio beat him fair and square at his game where he's best. Like, so to me, again, that really does mean something. And then the warrior status 3 weeks later, up a weight class, no fear, no like chip on your shoulder, but not like that animosity where fuck you, I'm not going to do it. Like, I'll prove it. And, thank you for the opportunity. And here he is, the nerd with the Clark Kent with the neck tattoo. I don't even know what's happening. I'm taking a shot on the dog. Dog or pass for me in this spot, just based on a ton of question marks. I'm not sure that I'm running to bet my car on it or anything, but I'll take a flyer on it, especially for co-main event. TB, Kelton, TB, what do you think?
I mean, Bahalio at plus 110, Omar Gagiev at minus 130. The line has certainly been shrinking. So if you're looking to get in on the dog train, I mean, you got Bahalio's given up a little bit of hype, but he's going to have a solid reach advantage, and his movement is top notch. The only thing, we are in the smaller cage, so I do think we do see some clinch play out. But I do think that Bahalio has shown to have like the tools when he gets in those positions to kind of pummel out. Now, Omar Gagiev, he does seem a little bit slow in plotting at times, and like even in his transitions, he is a good wrestler. But I just I have a tough time taking him as the favorite, just specifically in the spot against someone that has shown to have a nice, well-rounded game and some perseverance. So yeah, give me Bahalio. Kelton, how about you, man?
So I'm gonna give this out as my favorite bet of this card. I got 3 units on the underdog Kaio Bahalio. I put it plus 120. So basically, I don't understand at all why Omar Gadziev is the favorite. I'm guessing it has something to do with the fact that he's 13-0 and that he's Russian and that he his last name ends with a V. But like, let's talk about that 13-0 for a sec. A lot of people might not know, but he has a very interesting amateur career where, so, okay, firstly, he made his pro debut in 2013, but he has a lot of amateur fights like between 2014 and 2018. And actually, he lost 3 fights in a row on the amateur scene from 2014 to 2015, and he took a knockout loss in 2018. Now, for whatever reason or not, those are considered amateur fights, so he does have that 13-0 pro record. Props to him, but like, let's look at that pro record. I'll go in reverse chronological order. On Contender Series, he fought a pure Muay Thai guy, had no idea how to stuff the takedown, looked lost on the mat, and he ended up getting knee barred. Fight before that, he fought, on paper, a 7-0 guy, which, yeah, he's a 7-0 guy, but the kid was like 20 years old. He didn't look comfortable there at all, and someone referred to that fight to me and was making a case for Omar Gadziev, and they're like, yeah, Omar Gadziev can push a hard grappling pace for 15 minutes. And I replied to him like, bro, there was nothing hard about that fight at all. There was zero resistance from this kid. And then fight before that, he beat a 6-4 guy on paper, but now that guy happens to be 7-13. And, Guru brought it up. There was a guy that quit a minute into the fight against him. I didn't see that fight, but like, bro, this is the kind of competition he's facing. Before that, 0-0 guy, 3-3 guy. The level of competition.
10-8, 1-1. Yeah, it's very, very concerning.
Yeah, there's a 9-2 guy, but even that 9-2 guy is now 14-11.
Oh my God.
So like even the fighters that he beat that look good on paper, you look at their record now, it's like, yo, these guys are trash. Whereas Kaio Bahalio, this dude, you brought it up. He beat Aaron Jeffrey, Aaron Jeffrey, let's be real, he's going to be in the UFC soon. His only losses are to Kaio, Brendan Allen, and Sean Brady, all really good fighters. He even bounced back after that Kaio fight. He's got regional titles. Like, Aaron Jeffrey's a really good fighter, like levels above anybody Omar Gadziev has fought. And yeah, people will bring up where there was moments in that fight where Aaron Jeffrey was pushing him up against the cage, controlling him there for moments. Aaron Jeffrey does that every single fight, guys. Like, he's a huge dude. He's a really strong guy. If you watch the fight, Kaio really shut down everything Jeffrey tried to do to him there.
Very frustrating.
Yeah. Kaio's got a judo background. I know he's a BJJ black belt, and not just a BJJ black belt, guys. So he's from Sao Paulo. So he's been running in the same circles as Damian Maia. He's actually been training under Damian Maia for 8 years now. So that'll just tell you the kind of level jiu-jitsu this guy. I'm not saying he's as good as Damian Maia, but you get what I'm saying. The guy's got good jiu-jitsu. My main point here is these guys that Omar Gagiev has been wrestling and grappling have shown zero resistance, and that's just not what we're going to see from Kaio. He's probably going to stuff the majority of takedowns if he does happen to get taken down. He's not going to be a fish out of water like these other guys. He's going to explode up back to the feet. He's a super explosive, athletic guy. Like, this is not going to be easy for Omar Gagiev whatsoever. I think he's massively outmatched in the athleticism department. On the feet, like Kaio, sometimes Kaio comes out and he's got a karate stance, and sometimes he's got more of a traditional mixed martial arts stance. I really think he just he bases it on the matchup. Like, he's a super smart fighter, guys. Like, even watching him in like these defensive situations against Aaron Jeffrey, he does everything right. Like, he is
the hand fighting, all of it. The head position, the way he'll reverse the position and push him up against the cage. It really wasn't very impressive.
Very well-rounded, very smart fighter. And I feel like on the feet here, I think he's got Omar Gagiev covered. I think he can stuff the takedowns. If he does get taken down, I think he works his way back up, and I think there's a chance he can find a finish here. I think he can win a decision over 3 rounds. He has a lot of decision wins. I mean, I like this guy a lot, man. I have no idea why he's the dog. Literally, the only answer I can give you as to why Omar Gagiev is the favorite is because he's got a 13-0 record next to his name, and he's Russian. Like, I seriously, I don't know how you can watch tape and come away with Omar Gagiev being the rightful favorite here. I just don't get it.
It's really funny. Earlier in the week, I was like, yo, Guru, there's no way I'm betting this fight. Then you get down into the tape, you're like, oh, wait a second. There actually is an angle here. I'm always a little sketched out on these debut guys. I like learning more, what they look like under the bright lights. But, I mean, you saw Bahalio in that Contender Series spot twice, and then moving up weight and finding that finish. Yeah, I mean, I think I'll be throwing down here.
Oh, geez. Throwing down. You know, it's actually funny because I already did. Let's go. You sold me. So no, listen, I'd kind of seen it too, but the way that we had actually talked about it offline, you and I, Kelton. We were kind of talking about it. I was oh yeah, I'm kind of leaning that way, being tentative. I don't want to sound like an idiot when I'm talking to Kelton here before he comes on the show. And he's like, dude, that's my big play. I'm like, yes, that's what I was gonna say. But seriously, don't be surprised if you end up seeing some of Kelton's awesome plays kind of sneak their way, or kind of some sort of customized way into our creative way into our Bet MMA, because like I said, he really is one of the sharpest out there. So I won't call it stealing. I'm going to use the word inspiring. You inspire us to make the money.
I like it.
Whichever way we figure it out. But this next one's really interesting because I mean, I feel like Andre Fialio, right? He's got that crazy where he's coming forward all the time, and he's got that, sometimes we call that invisible pressure at times too, where you're not always doing it with crazy output and strikes. It's the feints, and it's the marching forward as well. But he's got legit power, man. And they put him against Michel Pereira in his debut, right? So that shows you what they think about his explosiveness and where he is at in his MMA career. And then you see Miguel Baeza, right, who gets started off his UFC career on a decent note, beating Takashi Sato, which maybe not the biggest win. And then he's kind of fallen on some tough times where we had him in that Pons fight, and was 1-1 going into 3, and was really very much stuck in the mud. Pons showed that vet skill and really pulled it out, and then he fights Chaos Williams, and we were all over Chaos, man. And I guess it was 1-1 going into that third. I kind of thought Chaos was up, but didn't really matter. Slept him good, really good, and we haven't seen him since. So that's really the big question here, right? Can Andre Fialio, the guy that kind of will either maybe lose by decision or win by round 1-2 knockout, Can he get the round 1-2 knockout here versus Miguel Baeza, or can Baeza maybe stun on him with more of his dynamic striking and maybe a little bit more athleticism? I just teed that up, right? Did I do okay, TB? That's usually your job. Did I do all
Yeah, I
right?
know you've been rolling along with it here, but listen, man, I think Miguel Baez at -170, Andre Fialho at +150 here. Yeah, I keep on leaning back to the Baeza side, and there's something that keeps on coming back from Fialio's tape on me is, I mean, this guy is a solid boxer. You know, he's got a really good 1-2. He's got the pressure, but he's very much heavy on the lead leg, and he's a little bit plodding at times as he cuts off the cage. And one thing that happens is he's a headhunter. Like, he legitimately does not throw any body head combos. Anything Fialho is throwing at you, you can basically see coming. Um, with a guy like Baeza, taller, a little bit skinnier than the shorter, stockier Fialio, you really want to be working his body to cut into that cardio, or throwing leg kicks, to slow down his movement. That's where Chaos Williams had a lot of success.
Yeah.
And that's also where Santiago Ponzinibbio had a lot of success. Working the full range of the body to fully, get attrition and slow down Baeza, because it's not like Baeza is getting knocked out round one. You see him and his resolve against Matt Brown. He gets the mouthpiece knocked out. He's a little bit on skates, but, he's fully aware and ends up, persevering with the round 2 knockout there. And you can't discount Matt Brown's power, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day here, Fialio, I just don't think he's diverse enough in what he throws to get that early knockout that, I feel that he needs. But, ultimately, I keep on thinking, Baeza has shown us that he will, leave that chin up in the air and get
To
checked a
get
little bit.
countered, and this guy
So,
Bahalio is a masterful counter striker. Is the
yeah,
problem?
it's so.
So, yeah.
I'm really not coming away with a big play on Baeza, but that's the side I lean to more often than not. Kelton,
Kelton, yeah, right the wrong, steer the ship, bud.
Man, so I remember watching Andre Fialho in the Bellator undercard like 6 years ago, and he was just out there starching these regional level dudes. And I'm like, yo, this guy's scary. This guy's got a future. And then he hit like a really bad rough patch. He lost like 3 or 4 out of his next 6 fights or something like that. And then he went on a recent resurgence, got a call up to the UFC, had a really, really tough debut matchup against Michel Pereira. But it's nice to see things come full circle, because I thought, like, for a second there, oh, I was wrong about Andre Fialho. This guy's going nowhere. And then just like one nice resurgence, and you're back in there. You're fighting in the biggest organization in the world. So it's nice to see him in the UFC. Now, when it comes to this matchup, though, I think he's pretty outmatched skill wise. And like, I would have a bet on Baeza if it wasn't for one thing. And that's my concern about his, not just like his durability in general. It's just like his willingness to brawl when he doesn't need to. So it's like, it's not even just a chin thing. It's a fight IQ thing. So I can't in good faith bet Baeza here at that -170 number. If it was like -140, something like that, maybe, but I just got too many concerns. I mean, a guy with durability and fight IQ issues versus a guy who hits fucking hard and is scary. So it's like, yeah, this is a good fight to pass on. I just kind of want to see what happens. And on the side, if you want to bet Fialho, I feel like the way to do it is just to take the knockout prop. For me, though, it's just like, I found long term, it's not a very good idea to bet on fighters banking on the KO when that might be their only path to victory. So, yeah, it's an easy pass for me. I'm excited to see what happens. So I'm a fan of both guys.
No, it definitely seems interesting. And when you talk about that run, which is interesting, on that run, he had a loss to Chris Curtis in the PFL, which is interesting. And then his run that was good, right? He knocks James Vick out of MMA, I'm pretty sure. Then, and then, he beats Stefan Sekluich as well, who was like, we saw somehow make it to the UFC and was, I believe, promptly kicked right back out. So, you're right, suspect competition, but again, I think you highlighted it perfectly, as we kind of were beating around the bush a little bit in terms of it's a little sketchy, man. Baez is a little sketchy. So, was there any prop? Is there any way to slice this pie? The degenerate, wants to find something. Nothing.
Yes, it's for me at least, like, this is one of those spots where, like, if Baez is gonna win, it's going to be by breaking down Fialio. So overall, like I don't foresee an early knockout for him. Give me, that parlay that we love so much on DraftKings. Let's go Miguel Baeza and over 1.5 plus 130.
Okay. What's the plus 130?
Yeah, from a minus 170 to, if you think Fialio is going to have his most success early, and someone like Baeza that's going to be chopping him down with the leg kicks, kind of working from the outside, moving around a little bit, he can even mix in a little bit of that grappling if he wants to. I think he's going to have the advantage there too, especially, you see Baeza, he starts to wear, you see Fialio start to wear down from the body kicks and the leg kicks of Baeza because he's winning those boxing exchanges early. But then, yeah, I think if anything, if you want to, like spice it up a little, if you're on that Baeza side, that plus 130 to get it parlayed with the over 1.5, that's where I'm at.
I like that.
Yeah, that is. But the interesting thing, though, is again, because I was thinking about that too on some level. When you look at Baeza's thing now, he's got all these finishes early. I don't know. I guess he went to the
Not in the
decision with
UFC.
right? Not in the UFC. Well, I mean, he's got one. I mean, his two of his fights have ended by finish in the UFC. Only one went the distance with Pons.
Right, but Matt Brown was in the second round, and that's
true.
A more drawn out.
Oh, I forgot about. I was missing Hector Aldana. I don't know why I missed that. I thought he debuted against Sato. I made that mistake too. Well, so what about this though? What if we went decision only? Miguel Baeza. It's the same price as moneyline, minus 175. You just remove a finish from the table. Bahalio is not going to win a decision over him, right? Or like Kelton said, are we so concerned about his fight IQ he could drop a decision?
So with that bet, if Fialio were to knock him out, it'd be a push, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all.
Mm-hmm. And it's the same line, minus 175.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't parlay it because if
you
he
don't
does
have
end up
to.
getting knocked out, then your other parlay leg.
No, you don't have to put. It's a money
exactly.
line. If you were even considering a play on Baeza money line, it's the same odds, and now we can just get rid of finish from the table. Even if Baeza gets to finish, it's a push, whatever. But we're not expecting that, as you kind of were inkling towards with the over 1.5 anyway.
Right. Well,
so I kind of like that.
Yeah. All right. So we came away with a few good ideas there.
Yeah, I mean, it takes away his best method from him, right? He's basically a finisher for Bahalio, no?
Yeah.
So I like that. Cool.
All right.
That makes sense. Look at that. Teamwork makes the dream work, baby.
The conversation. Listen, make sure you guys are giving a like on the show here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I mean,
Kelton's channel as well.
Exactly.
Mike Kelton, YouTube,
exactly.
Twitter.
So Rogue Strummer, thanks for hopping in the chat here too. We always got Daz in there.
That's
and
my Rogue
we
Strummer.
got Myra Bueno Silva versus Yanan Wu. This one is this one's going to be interesting. I mean, you look at the
one
line.
Way to put it.
You look at the line, it's minus 490 Myra Bueno Silva versus Wu Yanan at plus 360. I get it.
Do you?
I do.
Really?
If I was to say, like, who do I think wins the fight?
Right.
Like, I would probably lean towards the Bueno Silva side, but I don't think I would come away, like, aggressively throwing down on it. I think, Wu, she's proven, pretty difficult to finish. She's had, those 3 decision losses. None of them, one's Gina Mazzani. Mizuki's pretty solid. Jocelyn Edwards, very solid prospect. And, Wu was actually able to win a few grappling exchanges in that fight. But, I think if anything here, it's just like she's at least got the output edge over Silva. And I think Silva showed a lot of toughness in the Fiorot fight. And that's kind of carrying over here to the line, saying like, well, you do the math and you kind of transfer. And it's like, yeah, like she should definitely be Yanan Wu. But minus 490, like, are you're hearing me here, Guru? Like,
no, I think I have some water in my ears. Minus 490. Listen, we've talked about it on this show all the time, and we ran away from it in our main event last week or co-main event last week, and you pay the price for it. You have to you have to earn it. You have to really truly earn it. If somebody fights close, and that's the way that they fight, you can't lay minus 500 on them, even if you expect them to win, even if you want to, whatever. Myra Bueno Silva fights like a zombie, doesn't have very great fight IQ, isn't an excellent fighter by any means. Hasn't given you much in her UFC career to be proud of, in 2-2-1. It's amazing that she's still in the UFC. Like, they put her up against Fialio specifically because they knew that she'd be like, she wasn't just going to buckle over and she would be standing and banging. There'd be absolutely no grappling, which there was none of. As you can see, she's had whatever it was, 5-6 UFC fights, has not even attempted a takedown. So you know what she's going to come in here and do. I kind of see this fight as like a poor man's from the fight from the other week, Marina Rodriguez and Yan Jianan, where it's like, yeah, the favorite is probably going to win, but the line has gotten way crazy and it's going to play out way closer and it's just going to be really weird. And similar to that fight, I don't think I would want a part of it. What do you guys think?
Man, Yanan Wu is just a really hard fighter to gauge, like, where this fight should be lined. Like, if someone wants to say this line's correct, Wu's going to go out there and get whooped. Like, I got no problem with that. If someone tells me this fight's going to play out much closer and they want to take a small shot, I don't hate that either. It's just like, Yanan Wu skill-wise, let's be real. She's not very good. However, she's huge for the division, and she comes forward. She has volume. She has heart. Yeah, I mean, if she makes this fight close, I can't say I'd be surprised at all. Mayra Bueno, she's been iffy for me. I mean, she clearly has the higher ceiling of the two fighters here. Like, she's strong. She's got some power. She's got some jits. She's got some boxing. Like, she's not bad at all. Like, she should be the favorite here, 100%. It's just a matter of whether or not you think that line's off. And I'm just gonna I'm off this fight. Like, this fight's not even in my mind. I'm trying to avoid it at all costs. Like, but if there was any move, like if someone pointed a gun at me and said, make one bet on this fight, I'm taking a small shot on the giant underdog just because, like, we're talking low level women's MMA. So it's a pass for me. But if you want to take a small shot on Wu, I mean, go for it.
I just, you just look at the Buena Silva stats there, and I do wonder if they are skewed too heavily at all from the Fialio fight. But I mean, when you're landing 3.8 and getting landed on at 5.2, and honestly, at the end of the day, Wu is, I guess, similar to it. 4.5 landed and 4.8 received, and again, fighting horrible levels of competition. It's impossible to really glean too much. Roguestrom, I don't have it in me to bet Yan Wanu. Yeah, after watching it defeated by Jocelyn Edwards. Yeah, listen, Edwards is long, lanky, tough for the division too. Has shown some grit on a couple short notice opportunities there. But you're right. There's really not much to glean at all. So I'm kind of happy to have a smoke break on this one.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, here we go. We're into our next fight here. We got Pat Sabatini versus TJ Laramie. I mean, Pat Sabatini's got the 2-inch height advantage, a 4-inch reach advantage, and I just think, like, you look at the level of their regional experience, I just really dislike. I mean, this is maybe just me, maybe some other people agree, but TKO I feel like doesn't have the best level of opposition, and Pat Sabatini, I mean, CFFC. And this guy's, he's faced some guys with some really, really nice records. And you see Sabatini 31, Laramie 24. Sabatini, the black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's got the high school wrestling. He was in the Combat Sambo World Cup. He got a silver medal. I mean, this guy's got credentials all around the board. And when you see him on the mat, you just see how comfortable he is in any position and really what he's able to do. I mean, the one thing you notice so far in the UFC, the Jamal Emmers fight, he does get clipped pretty badly, but it's nice to see him recover. It's nice to see him, show the perseverance to fight to the positions that he's most comfortable in, getting from being mounted fully to, starting to get into an entanglement and get that leg lock game going.
Whoa, Jaden Will.
Oh, no.
Entanglement.
Oh, no. What have I done? But listen, this is where
keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
The guru is carrying away. But we got I mean, this is one of those ones where I sit here and I go, okay, this line makes a lot more sense. I know we missed a lot of movement, but Sabatini minus 490, TJ Laramie at plus 360. I'm just sitting out here trying to find my perfect parlay piece because Pat Sabatini is going to be in it. Guru, you feeling it?
Listen, I'm not just feeling Pat Sabatini because he's a former CFFC fighter, and we're going to CFFC 107 this weekend. Can't super excited about it. But seriously, I've really enjoyed watching Pat Sabatini's tape since, watching him come to the UFC, watching those old CFFC fights, watching him get his experience and get up there, man. He shows incredible explosiveness. I know it's MMA, right? We talk about jiu-jitsu a lot. This guy's really, really, really good at jiu-jitsu, like really good, guys. And, that fight with Jamal Emmers, yeah, he gets clipped. But one thing we can say about Jamal Emmers is that he's fucking really good too, man. He's a top prospect in the UFC, one of those up-and-comers, somebody I'm very excited to see whenever he does get to make his return. Pretty sure his knee got literally like detached from his leg after Pat Sabatini took it home with him. And then you look at the other side of who he's fighting, and TJ Laramie, to me, all roads lead back to his grappling. Lead to him trying to shoot for a takedown, try to impose his will. Right, he's not trying to kickbox. He's not some stand and bang guy. It's not really his thing. You kind of watch him go into danger with Darrick Minner, right, and not survive that, getting submitted round one very, very quickly in his UFC debut. That was his first submission loss. He's got 2 round 1 KO losses to the same guy, Alex Morgan. I don't know who Alex Morgan is, but shout out him for knocking that guy out twice. And he's got a loss to a name that seems to rear his head a lot, Vince Murdoch, the tough fighter, and somebody that was not able to make his stamp into the UFC because, quite honestly, nice guy, just not really good enough to make it. So he does have a win over Charles Jourdain too. What is happening? What am I looking at? That's really crazy. So he's got a little bit of an up and down. That's his best win, obviously. Charles Jourdain, one of those guys that kind of, will choke or put himself in a bad position for sure. So it's actually not the most surprising thing ever. At the end of the day, I've spoken too much because I think Pat Sabatini gets a quick sub. What do you think there, Kelton?
Yeah, with that TJ Laramie Jourdain fight, they were both like 19, 20, or 21 years old in that fight. When you're that young, the range of outcomes is so wide. So like, I don't even like to look into fights, that early in guys' careers. But anyway, I'm all aboard the Sabatini train here. I have him parlayed with somebody down earlier in the card in the prelims. I mean, you nailed it. You made a lot of good points. There's a lot of grappling in TJ Laramie's game, and that's Sabatini's bread and butter. One thing I'll say, I will be the first person to say how good of a job the matchmakers do in the UFC. Horrible job with this one. I don't know what are you guys thinking? You're giving this 24-year-old kid, and I mean, geez, they need Canadian prospects. They take this 24-year-old kid who's coming off a quick sub loss to Darrick Minner, and you're putting him up against this beast in his prime who's an even better. Like, what are they thinking here? I mean, I gotta think they don't like TJ Laramie for some reason. Like, I don't get it at all. This is not how you build a 24-year-old up. Yeah, I got Sabatini here. I even think this, if there was ever a fight for Sabatini to show off some possible improved striking, this would probably be that fight as well. Like, he's minus 500 here for a reason.
Yeah, actually minus 500 makes me sick.
Yeah, I got in at minus 365, so that was a little better. I think it's going to continue to get steamed. Like, yeah, it's hard to see a path to victory for TJ. Like, he's a compact guy. He's explosive. So, he does hit hard. Y'all mentioned Sabatini's been tagged before. So I guess if there were to be a path to victory for Laramie, I guess it's to hurt Sabatini's standing. But like, again, it's like a level of competition thing. I completely agree with you. Jamal Emmers is a very good fighter. I don't see, I don't cut a whole lot of slack for a guy for getting knocked down by Jamal Emmers. Jamal Emmers is a good ass fighter, man. He went to a split decision with Giga Chikadze. I like Jamal. I think he's gonna, he's got like 25 fights. He's a very good fighter. This is completely different matchup here. Sabatini rolls. I'll say first round sub.
Plus 175 for the sub compared to plus 120 decision. I like that sub number.
That is very exciting. We probably have to play that. I'm so bummed that we missed out on that parlay line. But see, guys, we if you listen to the show, if a long time follow the show, sometimes I'm like, oh, sorry to be those jerks that got down on the line movement. Guess what? I'm not that guy this week. So now, Kelton's the guy on the hot seat. Good job, Kelton. And now we're not. So it's not always fun to be on the outside, guys. So just I always going to remember this feeling and look to be better for next week for sure.
Hell yeah. So that brings us to our late replacement matchup. We got Munir Lazez, we got Terrence in Guru's lap versus Losa. This one, I mean, thrown together last second. Losa just fought XFC 4? A couple
2 weeks ago. Yeah. Literally. That was a great card too. Such a fun little YouTube card to watch there. Shout out XMMA for doing that. I wish more promotions did that kind of stuff. Really awesome.
I mean, super legit. And you got Lazez at like a minus 215 and Losa's coming back right now. It's up on FanDuel, but not DraftKings yet. You got Losa at plus 172. What stands out is the size advantage for Lazez. He's a little bit of a trimmer guy. Gets knocked out from body shots last time. Does Losa have that all-around game plan, or can he instill his wrestling? I'm curious where his cardio's at right now. I'm curious, if this is just like a welcome to the big leagues, buddy type of moment. But, Lazez, after that high of highs, beating Abdul Razak Al Hassan, to go to that low of lows, body shot KO to Warley Alves when you're a minus 250 favorite, those things stick out a little bit. So here we are back in minus 215 now against the late replacement Angelosa, who, I mean, he showed some type of toughness and durability staying in there with Jack Della Maddalena. And yeah, I mean, listen, Losa, he's got combos of his own. He does work to the body a bit coming out of Sanford. He's one of those guys that's really like calmed down his game a little more technical now. And, can we take him? Can we take him in this spot? I mean, I just don't. I don't love the Lazez side, so much. Just it seemed like the pressure got to him in his last time out. Does Losa kind of put on that pressure here? I just have a tough time trusting the guy off that 2-week notice, making his debut, bigger opponent. I just don't love it either way. Guru, you loving anything here?
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. Like, it's not happening. I just paid minus 200 from Munir Lazez in a spot for like kind of no reason, and he's unheralded, and he got knocked out. Like, am I just bitten by the dog? Am I being salty? Maybe Kelton will tell me I am, but I don't get it. I'm not doing it here. It's not happening. He hasn't fought in a year. Like, he's had two, right? He was supposed to fight. Listen, I guess we're supposed to get a tougher matchup in Lucius Alessio dos Santos with his capoeira style, but we haven't seen dos Santos in a long time either, right? So that was kind of maybe where that fight made a little bit more sense, right? Yeah, we hadn't seen him since that crazy Benoit Saint Denis fight, where that fight somehow went the distance. I forgot about that fight. That was sick, right? So we haven't seen him since then. Now it feels like forever ago. So that kind of fight maybe makes a little bit more sense. I don't know. I just think Angelosa is too explosive. It's just too dangerous to me. Maybe it's just the size thing. I don't know. Maybe it's because I just saw him get hurt to the body. But the dude's powerful. He looked good and he did get 30-27 by Jack Della Maddalena, but he had a couple minutes of control time to end each of those rounds 2 and 3. He shows to me that with that UFC level ish, like he's gonna show whether he belongs here or not. He's certainly got his chance. So I actually think that Lazez is probably like we just saw in the comments there. Thank you for saying that Lazez is probably a little bit overpriced here for whatever reason. So yeah, Rogue Strummer. Thanks, bro. So Kelton, what do you think, bub?
Yeah, new fight, so I haven't had like a whole lot of time to process it, but I mean, I could talk about what I've seen on tape and maybe I can come with a conclusion there. With Angelosa, first thing I'll say, zero shame in losing to Jack Della Maddalena. If anything, I'll raise the kid's stock for going the whole 15 minutes with Jack Della Maddalena. He showed some good durability there, and that's probably a good thing to have against Munier Lizez, who is a very dynamic striker. Has a lot of good knockouts on the regional scene. Man, it's just like it's a dramatically different matchup, man. I was picking Zaleski to just like give this kid a tour of the octagon, but now, I mean, he's got a. Let's be honest, this is a favorable matchup. Like, I like Ange Lusa. He trains at a good gym in Sanford MMA. He bounced back from the Madalena fight with a win over a UFC vet and John Howard, but
Yeah.
I just think he's a little too green in my eyes still, especially on the feet. And the John Howard fight, it was a wrestling show. He was pretty much able to take John Howard down at will. I don't think that's going to be quite so easy with Lizez. Lizez is just going to be giving him so much to think about on the feet, and really here it's just like, yeah, Ange Lusa, he's explosive. He's a compact dude, but like there's not a lot of combinations. There's not a lot of smart striking. It's very reminiscent of Impa Kasanganai. Like it's an explosive guy, but like it's just like one punch at a time. Not a lot of like it's just Lizez is going to be throwing all kinds of shit at him. The kicks, the punches, good combos. Like he's a way more dynamic striker. So I kind of feel like Ange Lusa does need to get those takedowns going to win this fight, and I don't think he's going to be able to. I think he's going to learn a lesson here. Munier Lizez probably gets back on track. Am I crazy to go out and jump on the minus 190, whatever he sits at? No, not really.
215 on FanDuel.
Yeah, I mean, he's got too many defensive flaws, and who knows how he's going to come back after. I mean, let's be honest, he got embarrassed against Warley Alves. He had a lot of hype coming into that fight and just got blown out of the water. And one more thing I want to say about Munier Lizez, we call him a prospect, but the guy's actually almost 35 years old. So, like, how much of a prospect is he really? Long story short, I'm not willing to lay it on Lizez, but I do think he gets back on track.
Any props? I don't think there are any available yet, but like my thought maybe is like taking a stab on the fight to go the distance as long as
I like the over. I like the over.
Yeah. As long as
both guys are durable. I mean, aside from that last fight against Warley, but like Warley's a hell on wheels. I don't think Ange Lusa is anywhere near as dangerous.
He had such a chip on his shoulder in that fight. Yeah. He was so pissed off.
I will say it was weird, like to see consecutively how quick he threw those 3 liver shots with like just roundhouse kicks to the body. Like you never see anybody land that many in a row that quickly. So I could see where like basically. The knockout did happen, but like that also shows the defensive deficiency. How do you not pick up on that after the second one? Like do you move a little bit, drop your hands?
The Cowboy Cerrone shoulder strikes. Like, oh, hello.
Mr. Team Cerrone out here.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, Team Cerrone.
But yeah, so ultimately, I don't think any of us are rushing to the money line window, but yeah, the over. Let's take a look at what they actually lined that as. So,
I don't think they have it.
Fair enough. So that'll bring us to our next fight. We got Devin Brown Bear Clark versus William Knight. The Nightmare.
What a weird fucking fight.
Known as Dan Tom, as Thick Willie.
Thick Willie style.
We got it ready to go here. I mean, this one's a heavyweight fight, right? Because on UFC stats they listed it light heavyweight, but I thought I saw it get reported as heavyweight.
I really want to see William Knight miss weight somehow. That makes me so happy. That makes me so happy. 286, William Knight.
I feel like when we've seen William Knight really have his most trouble is when he's had like a distinct size disadvantage. Like Daun Jung looked like he was like, the middle school bully that's in like 8th grade, and William Knight was like, the thick like 6th grader that had to get
about that from personal experience, don't you?
But then you see the same thing happen.
Hashtag triggered.
We see the same thing come back and happen with William Knight in his last fight versus Maxim Grishin, just getting like big brothered, like he's given up a lot of size, even with missing all the weight, just like making up that much of a height and reach advantage when like you don't really have the most like well-defined combinations and everything like that. It's just like, luckily enough, you're standing across from Devin Clark, and what's his go-to? Well, he's 22 of 63 on takedowns in 12 UFC fights. That's a lot of volume, 2.51 per 15. He's landing them at 35%, but like William Knight, as much as Devin Clark likes wrestling, he's got 38% control, but he's been controlled 27% of the time himself. That's the William Knight recipe right there. And he's not giving up as much size as he has in some other fights. I do think Clark, he's got the ultimate cheerleader in his corner. So if there's anyone that, brings him along, it would be that. But yeah, I mean, you saw a higher level wrestler in Iwan Kutelaba. That's one of the highest level wrestlers there are when his gas tank's right. But I mean, William Knight, I don't know. I think he probably presents more of a danger on the feet than Devin Clark does. So I would give him it from distance, and then if they start to initiate the wrestling, I don't want to count out William Knight as someone that can just make it really tough to be held down. He's going to try and reverse and if he gets into top control, I mean it's not going to look good for Devin Clark. I feel myself leaning towards the William Knight side here, but I also
does that say what I think it says? Does that say 41% of his fight time is spent with an opponent in control position?
Yeah,
is that what that says?
41%. That's
41%.
Not ideal.
41%. How do you have a job? You're spending 41%. What are you? The other 60% of the time, that means he's literally sleeping the guy. You need the knockouts, otherwise you don't have any wins.
He's got 16% control time. He's doing his best out here.
That's crazy. I don't know if we've seen anybody with opponent control numbers that high.
That Jung fight was not friendly, and he definitely also has been, held down a little bit here or there. But it's like the Max.
But to your point, is Devin Clark
holding him on the fence?
Right. But to your point, is Devin Clark, while he's a good wrestler, is he so technical? Is he so strong? Is he have such great cardio? Is he gonna hurt him on the feet and keep him down? What is it that Devin Clark does that is gonna stop this fucking mammoth? And I don't know, you're maybe talking me into it, because I don't know. I really truly don't have much intelligent to add on this fight. I've never really had a good read on William Knight.
I'm just confused. -170 Devin Clark and +150 William Knight.
That's interesting.
That's where I'm kind of all right. If this was line pick'em,
I guess that's to your point. That's kind of closer to where I line it, I guess.
But
closer to pick'em.
I feel like William Knight, is a solid, okay, maybe
I give him
this a little 40%, something like that. Kelton, do you have a strong feeling here?
No, I mean, my feeling is that the line is about accurate. I feel like Devin Clark does deserve to be the favorite here. I think this is similar to the Baeza fight in the sense that I think we have one guy that's really more skilled, but I'm very concerned about his chances of getting knocked out here. I think that is William Knight's path to victory, is to land that big shot. We have seen Clark knocked out before. Not only that, I don't know if y'all have seen the pictures of Devin Clark's teeth after that Kutelaba fight. One of the most
vicious,
gruesome injuries I've ever seen. Who knows how he comes back after that? Is he going to be able to take a shot to the chin the same? Who knows? These are all questions. But when it comes down to it, Devin Clark has the way better wrestling. I just feel like that's kind of obvious watching tape, and he should be able to grind this one out. Even standing, you don't want to stand with William Knight because he's going to be throwing bombs at you, but he's even the more technical striker here. 100% he deserves to be the favorite. I'm just not crazy about laying the price on him because, I mean, early on, William Knight's going to be hell on wheels. He probably will have the energy to stuff the early takedowns, and he's going to be throwing heat. I know he wants to come back with a win too, because it's been a tough stretch for William Knight. He probably has a chip on his shoulder after missing weight and not looking great in his last one. So this is one where I kind of want to see weigh-ins before I make a super confident pick. But one thing I'll say, I've been making some DraftKings lineups and picking underdogs for this card. William Knight's got that knockout ceiling. So I don't know if y'all play DraftKings, but man, for me, I think Knight's a good DraftKings play. But
interesting.
Clark will be my pick.
Well, that's super interesting. He probably can get it done. I just think when you look at that line, William Knight by KO at +350, I'm rubbing my eyes. I'm like, what? That's steep. And then if you can get William Knight at +150 money line, or you can get him +165 KO or decision, that's basically the same thing. So you kind of get an extra 15 cents because he's not going to submit Clark, right? That doesn't.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't
So
see that necessarily in the cards.
yeah, so that's fair, but you're probably that's a weird fight. That's
Yeah.
a weird fight.
Yeah, brings us right along to
Another
one of
crazy
those.
weird fight.
Yeah.
This is why we got you, Kelton, because this card, man, this is like landmine city.
We got.
Hey, I can hype this one up if y'all want.
No,
Let's
for sure.
go.
Listen. Well, honestly, I'm excited to see Lena Landsberg back. You know, she was old the last time we saw her. Now it's been 2 years, so she's 40 years old, and she's talented. And Penny Kianzad, right, who's coming off a tough loss, but you know, one of the better prospects in the UFC, right? You know, that tough loss against Raquel Pennington, but you know, before that had beaten, you know, was it a 4-fight win streak? So definitely really interesting to see how this fight kind of shakes out.
Yeah, I mean, Lena Landsberg right now is a gigantic underdog. Penny Kianzad minus 410 to Lena Landsberg plus 310. I mean, sure. I mean, Penny Kianzad last fight, Raquel Pennington. That's a tough matchup, and you know, she actually held her own. You know, early on, Pennington sets her pace and pulls away, but you know, her loss was also coming to Julia Avila. She's got that Chasson sub loss. You know, Kansas definitely been in a lot of tough, close fights, like Alexis Davis. If she implements a little bit more of that wrestling, or I mean, even on the feet, I mean, Davis was keeping it a little bit too close for my liking. You know, her other wins over Sarge Eubanks, Betch Correa, Jessica Rose Clark. I mean, all solid. She's got good boxing. She, you know, decent there, but I mean, she could definitely be kind of like bullied a little bit around in the clinch and you know, end up in some bad positions on bottom. It's just, is Lena Landsberg going to be that person landing 5 out of 15 total takedowns over 8 fights? So she's going to shoot a couple takedowns here. She does have 30% control rate, but she's given up 46%. So bam, there you go. Like there's your counter to William Knight. We found someone with a worse opponent control percentage right in our next fight here, which honestly, those are like 2 of the worst numbers I've ever seen.
Right.
So, but is Penny Kianzad at 12% control? Is that going to be her game plan? No, she gives up 38% control of her own. So it's like Lena Landsberg, clinch city. Is that what's going to happen here? Or is she going to shoot for a takedown or two and get a little bit of that control? Because, like, you know, it's 6.5 minutes of control per takedown. That's, you know, that means that she's getting a lot of it in the clinch too, because you can't land over 5 minutes of control on a single takedown. That's just not how math works with the rounds and everything. So it's like, that means that she's doing a lot of work in the clinch, and then you go and you see, and like, yeah, I mean, both of them land pretty decently in the clinch. So I do see this fight taking place in there a lot. I see it being really greasy, and I see it being close and tough to judge. So it's like, if you're sitting on a Lena Landsberg ticket and it goes to a decision, you're like, all right, like, maybe we got something. But there's also the vast possibility that Kianzad just boxes her up from distance and like finally wins a clear decision. So like,
yeah, I just don't know where
wouldn't
Lena
discount
Landsberg
that.
is with her output at all. I don't know where she is with her output. I don't know where she is with her training camp. I don't know where she is mentally. You know, you have to go out there and outwork this girl that's 10 years younger than her, essentially in your prime, and you know, has a reach advantage. So I know some, like, for me, a lot of women's MMA, that those physical tools tend to really mean a lot more. Kelton, did you see anything different, bud?
Man, so I don't know if you guys know this. It's really cool. So Lena Landsberg, she actually made her pro debut when she was 30 years old, same age that Penny Kianzad is now. And the person that Lena Landsberg made her pro MMA debut against was a 20-year-old Penny Kianzad.
I see that there now on
Wow.
Trophy MMA in 2012. That's so funny.
Yeah, they're both Swedish. They came up in the same you know, fight scene. So it's very, very cool to see this one come around.
That's
10 years later. Here they are facing off. Kianzad did win that first meeting, and I'm picking her to win again, man. And I actually think she's paid her dues to the point where she deserves this big price tag here against a 40-year-old who's coming back after a nice little layoff. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Penny, like, she's in the form of her career. Let's be real here. Like, I thought all her wins were pretty nice performances. With the Raquel Pennington one, like, y'all know Raquel Pennington has only lost to world champions, right? Literally.
wish you would have reminded me last week before I put stupid money on Aspen Ladd. That fucking corn-fed scrub. Anyway.
So yeah, man, I feel like Penny Kianzad at this point, she's the better boxer. She's the better wrestler. And I kind of feel like she wins this fight wherever it goes. Like, yeah, I know Lena's the clinch queen, and that's probably where she does have success, if she does have success here. But I got Penny. I got the younger fighter in her prime. It's going to come full circle. She's going to beat Lena Landsberg in Lena's pro debut. And I think she puts Lena Landsberg into retirement.
Wow.
Full circle of life.
Yep.
I kind of liked Penny Kianzad as well. Just from what you've seen from her on the tape, she should be better everywhere.
No, I'm not dying to go out there and lay minus 450 on Penny, but I think she deserves that line.
That's fair. I think it's that gut feel. Like, I'm so scared to lay someone at that price. I'm doing it on Pat Sabatini, so sack up, young man. Like, I
sack up, young man.
So yeah, I mean, but nah, I played devil's advocate a little bit, but yeah, Penny Kianzad should be the winner in this fight. So next one here, got our buddy Rafa Garcia coming off of his first UFC win versus Jesse Ronson. Coming off a nice little suspension.
A nice big ass suspension, 20 months for steroids against using again Nicholas Dalby. That fight, I barely even remembered that fight. He he clobbered that fool. Like that was going close. All of a sudden, steroid punch B, and he's like, oh, and he just like spazzed out and went to sleep. I was like, oh my god.
Only knockdown in his UFC career.
Yeah, and then he ended up submitting him. There was a choke out, but like he was knocked out, and then the ref's like, no, keep going, it's fine. And then he choked him out. But Jesse Ronson, man, is that guy in that respect. Like, he likes to grapple, but he also legitimately has fight-changing power. Like, we talk about power punching, 4-ounce gloves in MMA all the time, but this guy really, really does have fight-changing power, and you've seen it in multiple fights. You see him scramble in reverse positions. You see him get sub wins. I mean, he's a handful to deal with. Scrappy is really kind of the word, and Rafa Garcia, I guess, is kind of fairly scrappy too when you kind of break down to it. But the thing you saw with Rafa Garcia, especially in that Grutzmacher fight, right, is like, does he fade? What's his deal? So, kind of an interesting fight. I especially with where the line is, I thought it was pretty fair in terms. I think maybe they're disrespecting Rafa a little bit just because, again, Jesse hasn't fought in a while. So that fight's kind of at even money. And I think I was talking to Kelton offline about it. And I think I hate to steal that out of your mouth, but I think if Garcia dips to some dog price, you kind of have to take a shot on it because he's the more active guy. So even though this is totally painted red in the stat department here, I think that Garcia has a decent chance in that. Jesus Christ, look at that.
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes from the
3.5 strike landed to 5.4 absorbed for Rafa. That's brutal. What were you going to say, TB?
Well, I think a lot of that comes from his debut fight against Nasrat. I mean,
right.
we give him a little credit for, walking him down stuff. I mean, the dude was also getting pieced up.
He was.
But yeah, he showed the durability, and then gigantic favorite over Grutzmacher, and kind of drops the ball there off of, Grutzmacher grits, dude's gritty. He grinds it out. He puts together like a real high pressure, high volume approach. And Garcia wasn't loving it. Then he gets that green debutant and Natan Levy.
Right. Not really the best grappler. He's kind of the striker. Yeah.
Grinds him out. So you look at the stats of Garcia overall, 12 of 27 on takedowns over 3 UFC fights. So it's not just the Natan Levy fight. We saw him land takedowns on Grutzmacher. It was just he couldn't do much because he was getting attacked off his back there. So Jesse Ronson, he's going to bring that same type of idea, right? But he's also been controlled 38% of the time. I mean, there's a reason why Ronson's lost. What is it?
You're taking
7 decisions in his career.
Well, that's interesting because you're taking his first UFC stint where he had 3 straight split decision losses, right? One of which to Kevin Lee.
That is fair. And then Trinaldo
so those UFC stats. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So those stats are a little. So the stats, not that they aren't misleading, they're just like they're They're just from over there. His first UFC stint. It's kind of tough.
That's true. I'll give you that. So without leaning on the stats, I mean, yeah, I do think that if Garcia is able to, kind of use his pressure in wrestling, it would be great. But it's tough to trust that gas tank. So Ronson is going to be live here the entire time.
Yeah,
Kelton, what are you thinking, man?
So usually there's certain spots where like I feel like I just have to bet things on principle, and one of those things is there's two things in this fight. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I'll tell you right now, when a guy has a 9-year or more age difference, usually that person wins more often than not. That and the fact that an older guy coming off a steroid suspension usually happens to not work out. Now, there's been tons of cases where like younger fighters, they'll pop for something, they'll come back, they'll look great, but like when you see the older guy take a steroid suspension, like usually it doesn't work out in the future. And maybe those steroids are what gave him that resurgence in the PFL, man. I don't know how much y'all watched of his PFL career, but
he looked jacked.
Yeah, he looked good.
He looked good. He looked good. He looked really good.
But like even in the PFL, like I'll point out to the Natan Schultz fight. Shout out to him. He's a good fighter in the PFL. Fighter. Could easily be in the UFC. He controlled Ronson pretty well in that fight. Like he did what I think Hoffa should do here in like heavy wrestling approach. Like Schultz, I mean, he did a great job with it. Ronson slowed down. It was pretty much like after the first round, it was I don't want to say easy going, but like there wasn't much resistance. Like I know people will point out that Hoffa has slowed down, but Ronson has slowed down too. And who knows how that cardio will look off the steroids. So it's like I'm very interested in Hoffa, especially if it happens to hit plus money. Like, guys, I get it. He lost to Gritzmacher, but let's be real. Gritzmacher is an awkward matchup. Like, the dude is thick as hell. He punches hard. He's physically strong as shit. Like, he's awkward. If you're a young fighter with not that much experience, he's not going to be like some kind of rollover. I know he was for Alex Hernandez, but that's like a completely different matchup. Plus that Alex Hernandez fight, Gritzmacher was off for like 3 years too. So got his feet back in the water, looked good against Hoffa, and you know who else bounced back? Hoffa. He got back in the win column as well. He got the confidence back. So I'm going to take the fighter with the 9-year age advantage. I'm going to take the fighter who's not coming off a steroid suspension. Give me Hoffa Garcia by decision via wrestling.
Yeah, I honestly, when I saw the line, I thought it was like, I thought it was a little disrespectful to Hoffa. I kind of thought it'd be like minus 150 to plus 125 kind of thing, like close. But to see it pick him is very strange to me.
Yeah, I feel a lot more comfortable with my leaning of Garcia minus 110 now with that breakdown. Kelton bringing the heat.
Listen, that's why we recruited this man. We needed the heat.
Let me tell you.
Facts, big facts. Make sure you check him out. MMA Kelton on Twitter, MMA Kelton on YouTube. So I'm sure you guys are already
following. Give that man a follow.
He's
Hop away from our show for a sec. If you're not somehow already following Kelton, get back out there because
Appreciate that, guys.
Of course.
Appreciate
while you guys are here, hey, make sure you're throwing us a like on this video. Make sure you're throwing a little subscribe on our channel here too. We're all about bringing you to the conversations, and Kelton is just one of the many great, awesome guests that we've been able to welcome to our show. So
very fortunate.
Keep it rolling here, man. We got Chris Barnett keeping it rolling. Speaking of that,
keep on rolling.
How many times have you done that now?
We keep on rolling.
We got Chris Barnett, the Beast Boy, versus Martin Budai. This one, I mean, you got Budai making his debut here.
Budai.
But oh man, Guru bringing all the throwbacks here. But yeah, listen, Barnett. I mean, let's put it this way: this dude was going strike for strike with Mr. I'm on the way out, John Vellante in his last fight.
Had a meatball sub on the way walking out to the octagon, my guy.
So like seriously, like
Gabagool on that.
Great finish, but like Budai seems like pretty defensively sound as a striker. He's got a 2-inch reach advantage. He's 5, 6, 7, 8 inches taller. A real like, not one of those, like, I mean, Barnett is super athletic, but like Budai, he's got a lot better trim frame, I would say, a lot more athletic, slimmer looking. So, I mean, he can't pull off those Taekwondo kicks quite as well, but I do see some solid boxing and just like patience, the ability to work through the clinch. Budai isn't necessarily one of those guys that I think is ever going to like contend for the title or anything like that. I just think if you're like a legit heavyweight at like USC level, and for someone that was fighting at an octagon, like those are some real opponents that he was facing out there. And it's nice to see, okay, now he gets his UFC debut off of a nice, round one knockout on Contender Series. This is that, like, one of those Contender Series guys that I'm not rushing to fade immediately, just kind of based off of the matchup here.
Whoa.
Yeah, well, because you have to look at the matchup. Sometimes they really are trying to promote these guys, and you
Yeah.
saw Barnett really struggle against Ben Rothwell. I know it was on a short notice camp, but he gassed out a bit. He dives into a sub there. He gave up. It's a lot easier against blown up middleweight John Vellante to put on a little bit of a show. I don't think he has any huge distinct advantage in this fight. And Budai is a favorite. I mean, he should be good. So that's where I'm thinking like the minus 220, and you parlay that with our buddy Pat Sabatini. And yeah, I mean, I think that could end up being something I play, but it is minus 135. So we like our plus money around here, Guru and all that. So we'll see. We'll see what we end up doing here. Guru,
Yeah,
what are
listen,
you thinking on this fight?
I think the word you used, I'm not as always as observant as you, but what you said so perfectly and was exactly what I picked up on watching what I saw from Bidet is he is very defensively sound. He seems like a well-rounded, fairly diligent fighter. He's not over aggressive, doesn't seem to put himself in too bad of positions. Just seems like a fairly solid heavyweight prospect. Was the number one ranked contender in his last promotion, Octagon. And he was the number one contender fighting the number two contender, and he was a sizable favorite for whatever that means. Just seems like a really solid fighter. And what we've seen from Chris Barnett is that he's a very exciting fighter. He's a cool fighter. You want to grab a beer with him after your fight kind of fighter. But like, that's kind of it. He had the kick of the century versus Gian Vellante, which we were so fortunate enough to go see live. But one thing that I think is fairly interesting that TB didn't highlight, so I get to highlight it now, is that fight happened in a 30-foot octagon. This is a much smaller octagon, and that kind of explosive striking style of Chris Barnett, where he kind of wants to run around and do that kind of shit, is going to be much more difficult in a smaller cage against a bigger fighter in Bidet. So what do you think there, Kelton? Anything different?
I dropped the ball on this one, and I'll tell you why. This was actually the first fight I looked into on this card like a month ago, and it was mainly because Chris Barnett is a guy who's very high up on my fade list. So I go into the tape on Budai, and I'll be honest, guys, I did not like what I saw at all. I think he's really slow. I don't think he's a good athlete whatsoever, and I actually don't think he's going to pan out in the UFC. So, like, my thought process was like, I'm not about to lay minus 150 on this guy. Ugly tape, 3 weeks out. Like, I'm good. I'll revisit it. Fight week comes. Now he's minus 220. And I revisit the fight. I actually watched tape on both guys this time. I rewatched Barnett and Rothwell. This is a similar fight because he's fighting another 6'4" guy. Man, I think that size is just going to be too much. And Budai is he's a comparable grappler. Like, not even just with the grappling, like he is a BJJ brown belt. He's good in the clinch too. So I just kind of feel like he can wear on Barnett and kind of break him down. He did a great job breaking that guy in the clinch on Contender Series. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't think he's like the complete shits everywhere. Like he's a strong dude. He knows what he's doing. I just don't think he's going to pan out at the highest level in the UFC, but this is a very winnable matchup. And I mean, you just look at Chris Barnett, he's a fat guy. Let's be real
Yeah.
here. Like, it just, don't get me wrong. Budai's a big boy as well. But like, when you look at Chris Barnett, you're like, yo, this guy's in the UFC. Like, really? What?
Yeah.
And then you show him the spinning kick on Volante, and they're his biggest fan. But
Yeah.
with that kick on Volante, man, I mean, like, I'll say this: Volante was a blown up light heavyweight retirement fight. Like, you're not going to get that here. Burnett's fighting a young guy in his prime, looking to shoot his way up into the rankings. So, like, yeah, Budai should win easily. It's just, in the future, be very cautious, because
I was going to ask you, what is your biggest knock? What is your biggest knock takeaway on him? Just the overall game?
He's slow, man, and he's
Slow.
not that great of an athlete. I'm not a big fan of the striking either. Like, I actually think if you were to have these guys like strike at distance with each other, I'd probably give Barnett the edge there. It's just that's not how this fight's going to play out. Like, Budai's going to close the distance. He's going to push him up. He's going to get him down.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, he's not good.
That's good. I like that, man. Thanks for teeing that up. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
another the weirdest fight. This is the craziest fight. If anybody really has an unbelievable like assertion on this fight, I got a number for you to call. It's 1-800-GAMBLERS. This fight is so dicey, sketchy, crazy. Everybody was ready to fade Jordan Levitt against Matt Sales because they were like, oh, Matt Sales is just going to grapple him. He's going to take him down. He's going to grapple him. Well, didn't actually happen that way, did it? Or
yeah. I mean, listen, you got
Ogden
coming out of Glory, Jordan Levitt out of Syndicate, two extremely heavy grappling camps. Levitt, I know he's listed as like a purple belt, but like, you see his overall flexibility and talent. He's definitely a little bit past that, like just in like a skill base. But like, it's kind of sketchy when you see him out at distance. Like, his accuracy and defense numbers are like pretty solid because of the threat of the takedown. I don't think it's actually that he necessarily has like the most diverse, well-rounded striking set. So, Trey Ogden coming in here, I don't think he necessarily does either.
We missed a fight.
The Jakar close fight.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
What did I do?
It's okay. We'll finish breaking down this one and go to that one.
Oh shit. Okay. Ultimately,
Sorry.
I just think. Oh no! Wow. Yeah, the papers got stuck together as I'm flipping through here. Oopsie. I'll take the blame, my fellas. Ultimately, listen. I lean on the side of Guru here, saying just like, bro, I don't necessarily want to touch this because both guys have plenty of submission wins. Ogden's got a few of those losses on his record. He did take this on a couple weeks' notice. You saw Baeza not get the finish over Jordan Levitt. So like, the defensive grappling of Levitt is legit to not get finished, but is it enough to pull out a definitive victory when he loves spending time in opponent control? So
that is the truth. Trey Ogden plays that high stakes game where he'll get the quick submissions and he'll get the crazy sweeps and he'll get the submission, but you also see him, lose round one submission to Nick Brown. You see him lose 2 round 1 submissions to Thomas freaking Gifford, who's like really not UFC level, like really, really poor. And, so those kinds of things are super concerning against somebody like Jordan Levitt, who we've seen, whether it's the KO slam or like crazy submission wins, like he's just more of an ingenuitive fighter. But also at the same time, you watch somebody like Jordan Levitt not throw enough strikes, be way too comfortable sitting in guard, playing from bottom, and just kind of losing minutes, so to speak, against, again, a guy in Trey Ogden who's not going to be afraid to go to the ground. So, again, unless you're in these camps, unless you see something, something, he's got this special submission move that he's a weakness to. I don't really see how you can discern like some real tangible edge here. But I mean, if anybody can do it, maybe it's Kelton. What do you think, bud?
I mean, there's definitely big concerns on both sides. I don't see how you can be confident picking this fight, but I'm going to be rolling with the underdog for a pick here.
Yeah. That's what. Yeah.
Man, so like, first thing I'll say, I see the age right there. I'm a big age gap guy. When there's a big age gap, I always point that out. 6 years younger for Jordan Levitt. Trey Ogden, he's been, that's a guy that's been in the regionals for a while now. Now he's finally broke through the UFC. But like, dude, going back and watching this guy's career. So like, you mentioned those sub losses and how 2 of them were to Thomas freaking Gifford, who is not good at all. So like the first fight, so this dude will be outstriking Thomas Gifford, dive straight into a guillotine. Next fight, he fights Thomas Gifford. Thomas Gifford actually drops him, and then he shoots desperately, and Gifford gets him in that guillotine again. Again, like
so quicker though, quicker. A minute quicker. First time it happened in under 2 minutes. That's the next time it happened in like just about a minute.
And the second time he got dropped too. So like the fact that you're getting
what's actually the funniest thing ever is in between the two Thomas Gifford guillotine losses is a guillotine win on Canelo. That's so
hilarious.
Ridiculous. That is so ridiculous.
But like, it's not even just those fights. Like I've seen Trey Ogden put himself in bad positions before. You can even go back to his very last fight. I believe the guy's name was JJ Okanovich.
Yes, and he's he's on the ground and he does a great thing to reverse it. He's on top, gets reversed, then does a great job to reverse it, gets him back on top, then gets the sub and wins the fight.
Well, not only that, it's another example of him winning this fight standing, but going for he shoots like he's clearly winning on the feet and then he shoots. This is multiple times he's done this. Like that's super concerning for this fight because this is a fight where you want him to keep it standing, not go to the ground with Jordan Levitt. And it's funny, Trey Ogden is actually a black belt and Jordan Levitt, I want to say, is either just a purple or a brown belt. But like, you can't look too much into those belts. Not all belts are created equal. And I'm confident in saying Jordan Levitt has the better jiu-jitsu here, especially for, MMA. I mean, Ogden's been subbed a shit ton, man. I mean, that's highly concerning against a tricky guy in Levitt. So although I do see why Ogden is the favorite because he has the striking advantage, I believe Levitt is super limited by his athleticism. He's not a good athlete at all. So like Ogden has all the makings to win this fight if he does it smartly. But like going through and doing my research, this guy doesn't fight smart. He engages in grappling even when he's winning on the feet. So I'm going to say Ogden has success striking, does what he's done many times before, and that's shoot. And it's ultimately going to lead to Jordan Levitt comeback sub win. I'll say round 2. And I'm not so much interested in the Levitt money line. It's only like plus 110, plus 120. And like I said, I get why he's the dog, but I don't have the line available yet. But guys, Jordan Levitt sub, I see sitting out there at like plus 325 in some places.
Plus 350 on DraftKings. Let me go smash a little something on that real quick.
I mean, that right there is Jordan Levitt's path to victory. I don't see him winning a decision here. I don't see him knocking Trey Ogden out. It's going to be Trey Ogden makes a mistake and Levitt subs him, or Trey Ogden wins a decision, in my opinion. So as soon as that line is available to me, if I get anything near plus 325, plus 350, I'm going to take a 1 or 2 unit shot on that because, it's not so often the outcome I'm picking is in the plus 300s, plus 400s.
Could I ask you this? Is it safe to say that Leave It KO is like not on the table?
No way. I mean, the guy's got pillow fists. I believe the only KO win he has is the slam against Matt Wyman, and that's like a 1 in a million thing.
So Leave It by submission decision plus 140. Again, kind of similar, closer back to that money line, but like with a little bit.
I would just take the shot on the sub, just with the line being so much better. And I have a hard time seeing a decision win for Levitt because like he has to have 2 rounds of success to win a decision. And I feel like if he has success in this fight, it's going to lead to a sub win inevitably. So like, I just feel like Levitt by sub is the obvious clear play here, especially with there being such a discrepancy in the straight line at plus 110 and the sub at plus 325. I feel like that's almost an obvious prop. And if you just take a 1 or 2 unit shot on it and it misses, it's all good, on to the next. But if it hits, that's a nice one.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That's again, similarly, it's where I ended up on the tape. I kind of felt that Leave It at plus money was the fair side, but I get sometimes I get a little concerned when you start feeling that way against like you did point out guys that have holes, that have concerns. But you're right. I think at the end of the day, especially the way you break it down, man, it's really awesome having you on. It's awesome to not only get to I get to see your work on Twitter, but to really hear how you get there just makes me even more happy that you're on the show, honestly. So Thanks
Of
again,
course,
man.
man.
for
I
real.
love it. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah,
So
somebody
hey, let's
really good at their craft.
TB is going to circle the wagons here. We lost track of a couple of the horses. We got to go on back here. We got Drucker close. We got Brandon Jenkins. What we also got is a Drucker close minus 630 to Brandon Jenkins plus 450. So there might have been a reason I was like skipping along over this fight, but like,
Yeah,
the return of Drucker close. I mean, he's coming off some
coming
pretty
off of Jeremy
actually like
Stevens push.
yeah, really
Jeremy
serious
Stevens push.
stuff. The whiplash, like his spine, his discs are out of alignment. Like he's still dealing with the side effects to this day, as he mentioned in the interview.
To this day.
And Brandon Jenkins at plus 450. What you see is that he gives up 6 of 8 takedowns to our buddy Rongju. So we kind of talked about what that really means when we broke down the last fight for Rongju, and like, oh man, Drucker close here. Ultimately, man, it's yeah. I can't touch him at this type of price tag with those type of things. But like, yeah, sure. I mean, the dude hurt Beneil Dariush on the feet. The guy has won decision after decision. So yeah, if anything, I would say lean towards the prop of Drucker close by decision. But if Jenkins is going to win, it's going to be inside the distance. I'm just not rushing to touch it.
Yeah, this is super, super weird. Drakkar Close, the wrestler versus Brandon Jenkins, the wet noodle, would be fine, except Drakkar Close hasn't fought in a year, says that he's still suffering from headaches, injuries, was saying that he was going to retire if he needs this, which he may still need the surgery, and he would retire if he needs the surgery. Super, super, super fucking concerning. You know what you need to fucking wrestle? Your back and neck. So I have no idea what he's been training. I have no idea what he feels. I don't know if he's just saying those things and he's having a perfectly fine camp and everything's great. Maybe I can do a little IG capping to dig a little bit deeper. Minus 600 is fucking insane. So I'm not doing it. What I do think is kind of interesting though is that Drakkar Close is not necessarily a finisher, and you can get the over 2.5 minus 105 or a fight to go the distance plus 120. So I think if Drakkar Close wins, he's just going to grind him out for 15, which I think is the more overwhelming thing to do. And I mean, Brandon Jenkins, right? He lost that last fight by finish, right, to Rongzu, but like at the last minute.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure that Drakkar Close is the same in terms of the striking pressure, like the overwhelmingness of that. What do you think, Kelton?
Yeah, so he's actually all the way up to minus 800 in my book, which that's just a insane line. But like when you actually dig into it, is it really an insane line? Because Brandon Jenkins he's not UFC caliber. TB brought it up. He got taken down a bunch of times by Rongzu. He got dropped in that fight as well. Like it just overall wasn't a good appearance there against a fighter and Rongzu who is clearly still very green. I mean, that guy's like 21, 22 years old, and dude got whooped. Now, do I want to lay minus 800 on Drakkar Close? Absolutely not. Even a couple years ago, I would never lay a line like that on Drakkar Close, and now y'all brought it up like he's still possibly suffering from that push, and I mean that's concerning. I would like to think that if he's taking this fight, he's going to fight on Saturday, that he's all right. It's just I don't think he's going to finish the guy. So he fought a dude named Devin Powell years ago. It might have even been his UFC debut. And like that dude was not UFC caliber as well. And everyone and their mom was expecting Drakkar Close to go out there and blow that guy out of the water. And he didn't even finish him. So, I mean, Drakkar Close just isn't a finisher. Some guys aren't. And that's okay. I mean, you can win decisions for a reason. And Drakkar Close is a point winner. Like he's going to be able to wrestle this guy. He's probably even going to be able to outbox him. So like, unless we just see a significantly declined version of Drakkar, he should roll here. Unless he gets caught by some crazy shit, but I don't see it. Brandon Jenkins is not very good.
No, he's not. I wish I wish I could get in like minus 350, minus 425 or so. I can't fucking play minus 600. I know
No.
at the end of the day, after minus 300, they're kind of like the same line, but not really.
Well, from a percentage standpoint, but
Right.
not from a cashing out standpoint. That's
Yes.
the
Right.
issue.
Yes.
So, yeah, here we go. We got a couple more, boys. We got
Just two. Let's get it.
Estela Nunes coming in versus
Estela.
Sam Hughes. Sam Hughes. It seems like she's fighting out the string here. 0-3. Losses to Luana Pinheiro, Loma Lubunmi, that Tisha Torres demolition, round 1.
Brutal.
Also got that Vanessa Demopoulos round 4 submission loss on her record.
LFA.
Yeah, Sam Hughes 5-4. Got that short notice, quick call up against Tisha, and now seems to me like she's on her way to wash out of the UFC here because, it just seems like she
Nunes is a
could use little bit
beast.
more. Yeah, and Nunes, she's good, man. And Carnelosi that lost to her, I mean, you can't shake her for that at all. So, I mean, listen, Nunes, she's got the counter striking off the back foot. Sam Hughes, she's going to try to clinch. I don't know how successfully. I mean, she's got some control rate in her career, but I don't think that she's going to offer anything that Carnelosi did. And I think Nunes is going to be a little bit better prepared for it this time. Minus 220 seems pretty fair. I'm much more apt to play that than I am the minus 490 that we were seeing on Kianzad.
Yeah.
Same type of idea, but the lower level you get, the worse that opponent is. So where it's like you're getting the minus 220 here, I totally see where it's attractive on Nunes. So I'll probably end up throwing that. Whether it's her, whether it's Budai, whether it's both, they're probably getting thrown in with Sabatini. Is feeling. Guru?
Fair enough. Yeah, no, listen, for me, it's last time I was this impressed off a loss was like, Rafa Garcia's loss to Nazarat. I was so impressed off Estela Nunes's loss to Ariana Carnelosi. Carnelosi's the fucking Terminator. Like, that girl is so scary. She hadn't really gone for any takedowns in that fight and showed such a high wrestling pedigree too. And you watch Estela Nunes, fight the hands, fight in the clinch, push up against the cage, get taken down, work, scramble, turn, get back up, fight the hands, fight out, and then start by. And she does it constantly, consistently. The problem is, as we know, Carnelosi's also a really good striker. So eventually she's getting too tired. She's getting Terminator's just still coming forward. She eventually just wears down, and in that third round, succumbs to a finish. But like I said, I was just so impressed, not only by Carnelosi, but by what Nunes showed, by her crazy combos. She's got a eclectic amount of strikes she can throw. She goes to the leg, she goes to the body. She's long, she's lanky. I'm not. Sam Hughes is like kind of athletic, I guess, in terms of like she used to be a track and field athlete, and she likes to grapple herself, kind of clinch, BJJ a little bit, but like I don't know why did she pick him. I don't like. That's so mean. It's just it's weird. It's just she doesn't really do anything like excellent. So it's really weird. I like Nunes here. I think Nunes is parlayable. Like you said very long-windedly, I think there's a bunch of different things we can parlay her to, and it's kind of about figuring out what it is. Kelton?
So I indeed did that. I parlayed Estela Nunes with Pat Sabatini. I like Nunes a lot on the spot. I think Sam Hughes is about to go 5-5 out of the UFC. This is just a bad matchup for her, man. So I'm with you. I think Guru nailed that breakdown, by the way. I was impressed with that loss and against Carnelosi as well. Let's not even you didn't even mention Estela was coming off like a long layoff for that fight.
Yes.
She actually, speaking of USADA suspension, that's exactly what
I remember being impressed with her tape then and like almost wanting to pick her against Carnelosi, be like, no, you can't because Carnelosi's too much of a beast. But I remember being impressed then and then coming away from that fight still even more impressed, to your exact point, Kelvin.
Yeah. And you mentioned how like we hadn't really seen the wrestling from Carnelosi before, and like she had to pull that out because the way the striking was going, Carnelosi was chasing her down and she was getting countered badly. This girl is Stella Nunes. She's a Muay Thai world champion in Brazil. Now she actually moved to the States. She trains an American top team. I think this is her spot to bounce back, man. She is going to put a striking clinic on Sam Hughes. It's just been so bad with Sam Hughes, man. Like, I get that it's Tisha Torres, but like she gave Tisha Torres her only like finish loss in the UFC. So like it's not about who you lost to, it's about how you lost. The last ones were kind of bad too. Like Luana Pinheiro, that's another bottom of the division girl, and even she 30-27 to Sam Hughes. I feel like Sam Hughes has to wear her down with wrestling here. There's just one problem. Sam Hughes hasn't landed a single takedown in the UFC. Now she's tried. I believe she's shot a few takedowns, but like
0 of 3.
She's gotten them all stuffed. That's even worse than if she would have never shot a takedown before. Because if she had never shot a takedown in the UFC, I'd be like, oh shit, this will be the spot she's going to shoot. Maybe she'll get them. But the fact that I did see her shoot and they all got stuffed, that just makes me even more confident in Estella. And like Guru mentioned, even if we do get into situations of clinch and wrestling, like she did everything right to get out of those positions against Carnelossi. Carnelossi had a lot of takedowns in that fight, and the main reason why is because Estella kept getting back up.
Yeah.
And like not only that, Carnelossi, like, have you seen this girl? She is
looks like me, just jacked.
Bro. She's the most jacked girl in the division, hands down, especially that Andrade moved up. Like, even if Andrade was still a 115 pounder, I think she gives her a run for her money. Carnelossi is fucking huge, man.
Huge.
And Carnelossi, like, a lot of people don't remember, she was having a lot of success against Angela Hill when they fought.
Yes.
Angela Hill's a top 10 girls, and Carnelossi was taking it to her. She ended up losing via doctor stoppage. So, like, Carnelossi is not a bad loss to have whatsoever, and it's extremely hard to fight to make your debut in. So, like, I feel like the UFC is doing Estella Nunes a big favor here, giving her this girl that's 0-3, about to be 0-4. Get her out of here, Estella Nunes. I'm gonna say highlight reel KO, which we do not see very often in women's MMA. But I just have a gut feeling here she is gonna put it on her in the stand up.
What I think is so interesting, and then we will move on, and thank you for teeing that up. I think that's so interesting that last fight you got Luana Pinheiro at like -400 or more versus Sam Hughes. And I was thinking that especially since Luana Pinheiro fights next week versus Jessica Penne, I was like, I wonder what I would line Estella Nunes versus Luana Pinheiro at. And it's like, well, I kind of think I would lean Nunes. Like, I think Nunes would be the favorite because Pinheiro is just going to try to grapple, and I'm not sure that she's a good grappler, but I'm not sure that she's such a physical wrestler that she'd be able to take Nunes down either. So you're telling me that a fighter I think is worse was -400 against now a fighter I think is better at -200. That's like kind of some convoluted MMA math, but more to the point that I think that there's value on Nunes. So let's move on to this last one.
This is it. This is the moment that people have been waiting for.
The end of the podcast, is that what people have been waiting for?
I mean, listen, we got a lot of people in here. Thanks so much to Kelton for reaching out, getting the word out, and listen, thanks so much everyone for joining us. Throw a like, subscribe to the channel, make sure you're subscribed and following Kelton everywhere he's at, MMA Kelton. And yeah, I mean, listen, we made it to what you guys have been waiting for. Alatang Haley versus Kevin Croom. Listen, I'm just saying, I saw Curry Ninja up in there asking about, here we go. We finally made it. Did we discuss Croom versus Haley? We made it, guys. So yeah, ultimately this fight,
yes,
I'm not so sure. This is it, right?
Yeah, well, it's funny. It's Curry Ninja. If you guys can read that, a lot of you can't. He's kind of like the over 2.5 for both of those fights. My read on this fight was the fight to go the distance. I didn't necessarily love playing aside. I kind of just lean the fight to go the distance.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be ugly. Alatang Haley loves getting in little scrappy fist fights from distance, but for a guy that has some pretty solid wrestling, 86% of the time at distance, that's a little sketchy here against a guy in Croom that will just talk about a wet noodle. I mean, this dude has been taken down 6 out of 8 times so far in the UFC, and yeah, I mean, now cutting down to 135. That's a huge variable here. Trying to save his job in the UFC. And Alatang Haley, will he be able to overcome the size advantage? And if he does, I could see him, having some success in the wrestling just for a guy that doesn't really show that he's used it that often.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, he has 7 out of 21 takedowns attempted, but only 10% control overall. He loves spending time at distance. So, yeah, I really do like that guru, that Curry ninja. Like, let's get this fight to go the distance. That ultimately is the prop that I want to play. And right now, the over 2.5 at -170, and the fight to go the distance -150. To me, that's almost just like a straight play. Guru, anything else on that?
No, not listen. He's he's an orthodox fighter. He's got the wide stance, right? He keeps his hands in like this really weird spot where not only is he gonna get hit to the face, but he also gets hit to the body, which you saw in his Casey Kenny fight where his fucking body is like almost bleeding from the body kicks that he just keeps eating. Really unfortunate for him. And it's kind of like I believe he keeps his hands there because he's not quite a boxer, and he kind of wants him where he's gonna go for a takedown. And you want him to think you are, but he's not doing that, to all of our frustration. The problem is that Kevin Croom, while he kind of throws like, kind of winging kicks and punches, like he's got like kind of an interesting striking style. He doesn't really have much power or anything. Like, he's not going to command much respect on the feet in terms of that. You watch somebody like Boom, like walk him down. You're just seeing Croom throw haymakers walking backwards. Like, that's not going to go well versus Alatang either. So I find it very tough to pick Croom here. You've got to be very concerned about the weight cut. You got to be very concerned about his job on the line. So yeah, I kind of lean somebody that maybe hasn't used the wrestling yet, but can at least. But like I said, fight to go the distance. I actually feel better about than picking a side. So last time tonight, Kelton, what do you think, buddy?
Man, this is just an ugly fight. My expectations for Alatang Haili were a lot higher maybe a couple fights ago. Like, I was super let down in the Gustavo Lopez fight. It says it's a draw. Haili did get a point taken, so if he didn't get that point taken, Alatang actually would have won unanimously. However, most people actually scored that 2-1 for Gustavo Lopez, and I'm actually in that same boat. So I actually think Gustavo Lopez kind of got, I won't say robbed, but it came down to the round one. Gustavo clearly won round 3. Alatang clearly won round 2. There was the point deduction in round 3. It came down to whoever won round 1. It was super close, but I gave it to Gustavo. So, like, in my eyes, Alatang lost his last fight against a guy I feel like he probably should have beaten. So I'm absolutely not ready to lay the -170 or whatever it is on Alatang Haili here. I think if you were to bet a side, it probably would be the dog odds on Kevin Croom. I feel like he does have some grappling upside here. And it's not just the grappling, it's the pressure. I feel like he's going to be the one going forward. Alatang's going to be the one backing up. It's just going to be ugly, man. It's just all about how Alatang bounces back here. It's how we haven't really seen him fight a guy like Kevin Croom. I mean, Kevin Croom's a really, he's a difficult guy to prepare for. Like, there's not really a specific fight I can look at Alatang Haili and say, oh, let's see how he did against this guy. He's similar to Kevin Croom. Like, this is a weird one, man. I feel like Croom can have success with the pressure, but all in all,
but how long can he pressure?
Yeah, that's
cardio.
Definitely a fair question. Alatang Haili's cardio isn't the greatest either, but I feel like he is the guy with the slightly higher ceiling. He's a little younger. I feel like his strikes will have a little more pop on them. He should be able to stuff the takedown. So, like, I think he's the rightful favorite, and I'll pick Alatang Haili, but from a betting perspective, +150 or better on Croom, like, I don't hate it.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. I definitely it's a super tough fight. Not anything that I necessarily want exposure on the side, but what a hell of a way to break that down, though. One thing I did want to ask, and it's super unplanned. I don't have anything on it, But Bellator 277, I had a feeling that my man MMA Kelton might have something. So did you have anything you maybe want to kind of share to the viewers? Because this is a sick card, right? You got AJ McKee versus Patricio Pitbull for the featherweight championship, and you've got Vadim Nemkov versus Corey Anderson for the right? Isn't that for the light heavyweight belt too? Like that's fucking sick.
Yeah, so you got a couple title fights there. Good card for Bellator. So quick breakdown for the Pitbull AJ fight. AJ was this fight the first time was what, like pick 'em? So now you're having to pay like minus 250, minus 300 for AJ.
Yeah.
I have so much respect for Pitbull that I don't want to lay that price on AJ, even though I am going to pick AJ. I mean, you can make the argument AJ McKee's the best fighter outside the UFC. The dude's special, but like, I have a hard time seeing the fight going exactly the same. Like, if you were to make easy work of Pitbull again, holy shit, man. I'm going to say Pitbull makes this one a little harder on him, though, but ultimately AJ will get the win. Just not
willing to get to finish?
Probably. But just the fan in me wants to see Pitbull test him in like a 25-minute war.
Right.
It's possible, but yeah, AJ probably gets the finish.
I couldn't even believe he finished him in that first round, that fight.
Oh man,
like, that was so fucking crazy.
That one, and I don't know if you've seen his sub win over Darian Caldwell. That was another super fucking impressive. I mean, this kid's very seriously impressive. The new breed.
Modified neck crank, yeah,
he's a beast. But I actually do have 2 bets on this Bellator card. Okay. So I do have Vadim Nemkov against Corey Anderson. I feel like we've seen Vadim Nemkov get tested like this multiple times before. Similar spots, like former UFC guys as well. Like you can make some high comparisons. The Ryan Bader fight, another wrestler. He starches them. He stuffs any kind of takedowns. Phil Davis fight. He stuffs the takedowns. Corey Anderson needs takedowns in this fight. Let's be honest here, because that chin is suspect, man. It has been from the UFC days. I feel like his Bellator competition has been kind of light up to this point. And man, Vadim Nemkov, speaking of some of the best fighters out of the UFC, like this guy's one of them. He's got that Sambo championship background. The dude can wrestle for days. He's super dangerous on the feet. Like one of the most beautiful head kicks you'll see. I think it was the Ryan Bader one. Like, dude is a monster, and I feel like he knocks out Corey Anderson. I feel like he can stuff the takedowns and touch that chin. Simple as that. I don't know why it's minus 160. It should be minus 260 in my eyes.
Wow.
And then there's a fight right before that. You got former UFC fighter Tim Johnson. He's taking on Linton Vassell. I bet Linton Vassell in that fight. Linton Vassell's a guy I've been watching for a long time. He used to be at light heavyweight, and he recently moved up to heavyweight in recent years. Also moved to Sanford MMA in recent years. He's a little older, but I like this dude, Linton Vassell. I feel like he can beat most guys in Bellator other than like the elite of the elite. And Tim Johnson, I'm not just
got knocked out by Fedor. I'm so confused. I mean, how is he fighting before Fedor, even though he just got knocked out? I'm so confused.
Yeah, man.
That's a good pick.
yeah. Linton Vassell should roll here, I think, standing or grappling. So I like both those guys. Yeah.
Awesome. You're not going to hear any back and forth argument from us because we don't break down Bellator, but I had a feeling that you might have a play. So thank you for giving us our first ever Bellator breakdown here on Chronic Combat Conversations. And thanks so much for joining us for your first 2022 podcasting experience. You were awesome, dude. This card was honestly fairly challenging. This was actually our 50th podcast ever, which was also really cool. So, yeah, thank you. But seriously, you really, really helped us flesh this crazy mess out and made it feel honestly a lot less messy. Like I kind of felt like I was maybe complaining a little too much, and you had such a great handle on it. So thanks so much for being here, bud.
Of course, man. It's crazy. You look at these fight cards, like when you're getting into the very beginning of your research, you'll kind of look at the card and be like, oh my God, this looks awful. And then you look at the lines and you're like, oh my God, I don't see anything I like here. And then you start to dig in and do a little bit of research and it just comes to you. I love the process of researching the fights. And it was even more fun to come on here and break them down with you guys. Appreciate you having me on. If you're not subscribed to these guys, do that. Hit the like button. I think you guys should keep on grinding, man. I watched your show with Lock of the Night. I think that was a few weeks ago. You guys should keep on going, man. Build it up. I like it. You're doing a great job.
We appreciate that, man. We'd be happy to have you back. Listen, that's at MMA Kelton on YouTube and on Twitter. You can follow me at Guru Scouting MMA on Twitter, Verdict, Instagram, and Tapology. And you can follow my awesome co-host at TB Scouting MMA on Verdict, Twitter, Instagram, and Tapology. If you happen to be in the Atlantic City area this weekend, pull up. We will be at CFFC 107. Passing out business cards, just being
bad boys. Let's go.
Being super reckless for no reason. Out in AC, so come say what up. We're gonna be betting some money, watching some fights. It's gonna be a good ass time. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much to the guests. Thanks so much to everybody in the chat. And till next time. Next week we got that card's crazy. We got what's her face? Both of those chicks. Who's just say who?
Lemos versus Andrade, baby.
Thank you.
Let's go.
Thank you.
We're getting it down. Take them away. Have a great night, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.